Hey guys, and welcome back to r/EntitledPeople. It's time to read about some more Karen encounters, so let's get right into it. A Karen almost got arrested and dragged off a plane. Before COVID, I was traveling regularly for my work, this time to Edinburgh. The flight was uneventful and we landed. But after touching the ground, we were asked to stay in our seats, as there were some issues at the gate and they could not dock yet. About 10 minutes passed. I was sitting in the back of the plane, as I generally find those seats are taken last, more often than not leaving me with an empty space next to me. But this time the plane was fully booked, so no luck. A woman in her 30s or 40s got up regardless, and walked past me to the end of the plane into one of the toilets. I guess her need was high, or she did not care about the instructions to keep seated. I had a window seat and was looking at the gates about 1 mile from where we were parked, as I noticed the crew mounting stairs to the back door of the plane, and I was preparing for a bus trip to the gate, or worse, a long walk, thinking they were going to let us get off here instead of at the gates. But I was up for a surprise. Instead of a crew member climbing up the stairs, I saw 5 police officers. The stewardess opened the back door and 4 police officers came in. 1 stayed just outside the door, 2 stayed in the back, and 2 of them walked to about 5 rows in front of me and arrested one of the passengers. No idea why, but he complied. His girlfriend or wife was not arrested, but was getting up as well. This story is not about them, though this was my first time ever witnessing something like this happening in at least 50 flights a year. This story is about the woman who got into the toilet just before the police showed up. She probably had no idea what was happening and tried to leave the toilet, only to find that she got ordered back in by one of the officers. She started shouting that she wanted to get out, but the officer was firm and told her to stay inside. He did not give a reason, but from his tone it was clear he did not take any of her BS. While the man and woman were gathering their stuff, the woman in the toilet started screaming, ordering to let her out. Again, the officer told her to shut up, and that what was happening was in no way related to her, telling her this would only take a few minutes, and she could leave the toilet after they were gone. She was having none of it. She was screaming even louder at the top of her lungs, making demands, trying to open the door that the officer closed again, cursing and calling him names, ordering the officer to let her out and back to her family. This went on for several minutes. When the man who was arrested was led to the back of the plane, the officer at the toilet plainly told the woman that if she continued, she would be arrested and taken off the plane as well. That finally shut her up. I felt for the guy and admired his patience. I would not have taken her BS for the time he did. 2 minutes later, the police left with the arrested man and his girlfriend, and finally allowed the woman to leave the toilet. Everybody was looking in her direction as she quietly got back into her seat. We arrived 30 minutes late, but I did not mind. The entertainment on this flight was awesome. Edit. I read a lot of comments about the woman in the toilet having a panic attack, or something similar, and I am not ruling that out, though to me it sounded more demanding and entitled than panicked. For instance, I order you to let me out right now. She was constantly making demands. Still, that does not rule out the fact that it could have been a panic attack. Also, somebody commented about the officer not telling the woman what was happening. That was something I wondered about as well. He did tell her he was law enforcement and that there was nothing to worry about, and they were not there for her. But no further explanation of what was happening. It could be that they are not supposed to tell these things, but he could have told her they were making an arrest, as everybody else was witnessing that. Maybe somebody knows if this is a normal procedure? Yeah, even if she was talking in a sort of demanding way, it still could have been some kind of panic attack. And maybe it was because of that panic that she wasn't actually listening to anything the cop was saying. And maybe she didn't even hear that they said they were law enforcement. Who knows though? Perhaps the cop could have done a bit of a better job into letting her know what was going on. That they were making an arrest and they just need her to stay put for a quick minute. She might have just been freaked out and thought that something weird was going on. What do you guys think? Sister-in-law insulted my kids, so I exposed her lies. My sister-in-law is the kind of mom that always has to one-up other kids. She constantly talks about how her kids are smarter, taller, faster, etc. than her friends' kids. She literally bragged about them peeing more than her friends' kids when they were babies. It was worse when my husband and I had our twins. Suddenly, everything was a competition, that her kids always won. One of my girls rolled over at 4 months. Her son had rolled over when he was just a week old. The twins both took their first steps around 13 months. Her daughter was running at 4 months. She didn't actually start walking until around 16 months. She even changed the weight of her kids' birth weights, which makes them both heavier than the current heaviest newborn in America. It's so weird that she feels the need to tell such obvious lies, especially to people who knows she's lying, because they were there when her kids were small. I got annoyed when she went from lying about her own kids to telling me there is something wrong with mine. The girls are a few months shy of 2, and they're both healthy, on track, and hitting their milestones. Sister-in-law has become obsessed with the idea that there is something wrong with them because they're not speaking in long sentences. Of course they're not even 2. They're both developmentally on track, but she insists that her children were speaking in 5 to 6 word phrases by 18 months. Spoiler, they were not. Honestly, her son is almost 7, and I can barely understand a word the kid says. My husband and I ignored her, but she took it too far when I got a call from her friend who works in early intervention, who was under the impression I was very concerned about my children. We talked, and her friend confirmed that yes, they are on track, and no, there's nothing to worry about. I finally lost my patience. Hey, her kids are breaking almost every record there is, and that should be celebrated. We had dinner with my husband's family on Saturday. The kids were in another room, and I decided it was the perfect time to give her my gift, a book I had printed and laminated, called the White Claw Book of World Records. I printed all the supposed milestones of her kids, complete with photos and info of the actual world record holders, now that they had been pushed to second place. She flipped through the first couple of pages, went beet red and called me an asshole. Her husband took it from her and got through the first page, before laughing hysterically and asking her why the hell was she still lying. Apparently it was not the first time they'd talked about her lying about her kids. She stormed out, but texted me later that night and asked why I'd humiliated her when all she'd ever tried to do was help me get my kids the help they needed. But if that was how I wanted to treat her, then she'd stop. So I guess it's a win for me. It sounds like sister-in-law is the one that actually needs help. Maybe a therapist to help her get over her compulsive lying. Too much entitlement might land you in legal trouble. For context, OP never says, but I'm pretty sure this first part takes place in a grocery store. Last night, a very young-looking woman came in pretty late. With her, she has a baby, maybe 4 to 6 months, and a toddler. This is probably around 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. She grabbed the fixings for a steak dinner for 2, and a kid's frozen dinner. She had a bottle of red wine. She doesn't look anywhere near 21. She looks more like 16. Cashier asked for ID. She doesn't have it on her. Sorry, no wine tonight. Cue the demand for a manager. Me. I said the same thing. No ID, no wine. She started screaming at me that they just moved to this area, and she has misplaced her wallet. I'm ruining her Valentine's Day because her husband just got in from bringing another load of their stuff, and she needs this wine. Sorry, but sob stories won't keep me out of jail. From getting fines for me in the store, loss of job for me, and loss of liquor license for the store. I can't help you. She was pissed. It was quite obvious on her face. She paid for the food and started to walk away. She made it as far as the door. The bagger had just started walking to return the wine when she ran back to him, grabbed it, and spiked it like a football after scoring the winning touchdown. She ran out the door with her cart and kids. Oh yeah, calling the police. I got her license plate and the make of her car. I dealt with the police officer in making the report, while the other closing manager finalized the closing of the store and supervised the cleanup. We left around an hour after the incident. I had to drop some stuff off at my mother-in-law's, so it took me in the opposite direction that I would normally take. Going this direction took me past the liquor store. I noticed 2 police cruisers with lights on in the parking lot. One of my brother's best lifelong friends is the night manager of this liquor store. This man has been like a little brother for me for nearly 40 years, so my worried and nosy self turned in. Yup, there's his car. I parked next to it. A 3rd cruiser pulled in. It was at the same time I realized the only customer car in the lot was matching the young lady that had smashed the bottle of wine at the feet of my minor bagger, endangering him with the glass shards. The officer stepped out of his vehicle, and it's the same one I had just given the report to about half an hour prior. I stepped out and called him by name before he went inside. He recognized me and took a step closer. I pointed at her car and told him I was pretty sure that was the vehicle belonging to the young woman from my report. He looked at it, nodded, and walked into the liquor store. I sent a text to my friend. Hey, call me later. I think you have called the police on someone I had to call on also. We finally connected around midnight. It was the same person. She had attempted to enter the liquor store with their children, and he stopped her. In my state, you have to be 21 to enter a liquor store or smoke shop. There are no exceptions, not even for babies or small children. There are big red signs on the door stating this. She immediately told him that was ridiculous. She needed a bottle of red wine, and some dumb bitch at the grocery store refused to sell it to her. He said he really didn't care, but the children could not enter the store and to take them out. She started screaming about already regretting moving to this ass-backward state, and she was just grabbing a damn bottle of wine whether he liked it or not. He told her, nope, not from this store. That's when she grabbed a wire rack display of mini bottles and slammed it to the floor. About 100 mini bottles hit the floor, shattering. That's when he hit the silent alarm and immediately dispatched the police to the liquor store. She ended up being arrested for child endangerment, theft, vandalism, and destruction of property. The father/her husband could not be reached, so DCFS showed to take the children with them. My cousin arrested my father. I gave him the go-ahead. One day my father and my cousin and I were at a gardening store to buy some pieces to repair a sprinkler system. They were small items. We find what we need, but one of them had the tag scratched, and for sure won't scan at the checkout. I said we have to find one with a proper tag, but my father said there's no need. He takes the tag off and puts the item in his pocket. Me and my cousin look at each other like, what the hell? When asked, my father said they won't even notice it. Since it had no tag, it wouldn't activate the alarm at the entrance. 2 things you need to know going forward. 1. My cousin is a police officer fresh out of the academy. 2. My father has always had an attitude of superiority towards the children of the family. Something like, I'm your father, uncle, etc. You won't dare cross me. No matter if we're already adults with jobs in our own homes. So my cousin asks if he realizes he could have him arrested for this, to which he responds by laughing, and then he said he dares him to do it. We walk towards the registers, and while waiting in line, my cousin whispers in my ear, "You know what I'm about to do, right?" To which I reply, "Yes." He waited for my father to pay for the stuff he wanted to pay for, and go past the alarm sensors so that the theft would be official and not just intent. Then he started acting like police. He presented himself as off-duty police, badge number, etc., loud and clear so that people would hear. Then he asked my dad to empty his pockets. A puzzled look covers my dad's face at this point. Security comes to check what's going on, and my cousin explains that him, an off-duty officer, witnessed this man putting an object in his pocket and did not pay for it. Security also asks him to empty his pockets, and there it is, the item he stole. Security detains my dad and calls 911. Police officers came and took my dad away after confirming the story with the security footage. He spent the night in jail and got hit with the fine. After that, he stopped acting like the king of the family's hill, and this would be something to laugh at for years to come. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for watching, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, it really helps me out. And also subscribe to the channel for more content like this. So have an awesome day everyone, and I'm out of here.